Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. Now, I recently put out, well, maybe not recently anymore, but I put out a top 10 list of notes that are no longer worth face value. A lot of people found a lot of interest in that and didn't realize that notes can be worth more than face value on the collector's market, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are spendable. And well, gold certificates are one of the greatest examples. You can't spend a gold certificate because, first and foremost, they were backed by gold, which means they are no longer backed by gold, so they're not backed by anything. Why does that make a difference, some of you might ask? Well, because the whole point of that note was to be backed by gold. Granted, our Federal Reserve notes aren't backed by anything. That's how they were designed. They were designed to say that the full faith and trust of the federal government will make a Federal Reserve note good. That's not how gold notes were designed. Secondly, with gold certificates, they were made illegal. So you can't spend them. It was illegal to own them. There was a specific date that they had to be turned in by. And if you didn't turn them in, it was illegal to own, illegal to spend. And it wasn't until 1964 that they allowed collectors to legally own them and have them for collecting purposes. But all of that says that you can't spend them regardless of the denomination. Now, that doesn't become a problem because, for the most part, gold certificates on their own are worth far more than face value. So you'd be silly to spend a $20 gold certificate for $20 when you could get 10 times that much on the collecting market. The note that I'm bringing out today was always my argument as to why gold certificates weren't actually worth face value. People love the debate, though, and they love to say, well, I'd give you $20 for your $20 gold certificate. Yes, that's not the point. The point is you cannot turn it into the bank and have it redeemed. If you could, I would gladly take all of my $20 gold certificates and turn them in for $20 gold coins, because $20 gold coins are an ounce of gold each. And I don't think any of my gold certificates are worth more than $2,000. So that implies how they aren't actually spendable. All right. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. I got my 1,000 in singles here. Let's take a look at what I found this week. I've got a Where's George. I've seen a stamp like this just stamped once, never 4 times, so this might be somebody new. Another Where's George. This one here has got that jet. I've got a couple of these if I remember. Yep, and I've seen these before as well. So Where's George probably won't let me log them. I'll make the effort anyway. I found an alternator. This one has 7 as the alternator. You've got 7, 9, 7, 3, 7, 8, 7, 2. So 7 is every other digit. Then I've got some trinaries. 2s, 3s, and 9s. 4s, 5s, and 7s. That looks like something, but it's not. It's, close doesn't count. So if you want to think that it's close to being an alternator or a repeater or a radar, then it's also close to being worth money, but not worth money. What do we got here? 1s, 5s, and 9s. 0s, 3s, and 8s. Quad 0s. Quad 6s. You guys know that I collect trinaries and quads. Now, just because something doesn't have value over face value doesn't mean you can't collect it. You can collect anything you like. That's the whole point of having a currency collection, to save the things that you like, the things that impress you. Just do so understanding that not everyone is going to see value in them. Yeah, you have every right to collect the number 5 or whatever thing that you particularly like. Great. It doesn't mean that 10 years down the road you decide to sell your stuff that other people will find value that way. When it comes to value, you got to be a little more mainstream. But anyway, like I said, trinaries and quads, I collect those knowing there's no additional value, but I have ulterior motives. Quad 6s here, quad 8s on this one, and some stars. 2017 star in good shape, not filled in stars. This one's a 2017. Another 2017. 2013. 2013B, one of the repeated numbers, and it's under 9.6 million, so that is one of the repeated ones. Some people say that these are worth $10 a piece. Well, I must have about $1,000 worth of these then. What else do we got? 2013B. This one is above 9.6 million. This one would be 14 million. So no, this is not one of the repeated ones. And some older notes. This is a crisp 2006J. 2003A, a little rough. Another 2003A, also rough. 2003. 2003. 1999. And the oldest note I found this week was from 1995. Checking, it is not a web note. Don't forget, on your web notes, you can spot here where it's got the actual position, C4. That's the position on the sheet. If you have a web note, it was done on a roll of paper, so there weren't individual sheets. So there would be no digit here. There'd be nothing here. Or you can go on this side, where once again, you've got, this one has FW for Fort Worth. The C is the section of the sheet. Once again, there was no section. All you would have is the plate number on this side. And of course, finally, if you look on the back, there's a plate number here. On a web note, the plate note would be up there. So those are all the different ways you can discover a web note. This is not a web note. All right, so what did I bring out this week? I've shown this note before. I usually show it as part of a top 10. I may have highlighted it once way back a few years ago, but a lot of people enjoy seeing this note, so I figured I'd give it its own day in the sun, and with a proper thumbnail this time. I have my $10,000 gold certificate. Now, this $10,000 gold certificate, what a story behind this note. If this note could talk. Let's look up here first. You can see it said Act of March, is that 14th? 1900, and you can see 10,000, 10,000. Let's read it as an actual certificate. It is hereby certified that $10,000 have been deposited with the, and then this actually, you can see through the light, says assistant treasurer, but they blacked out assistant, so the treasurer of the United States. Payable in gold at this office to the order of the Federal Reserve Board, Washington, D.C., November 22nd, 1916. And if you look here, you can see through the sunlight, it has been redeemed. You've got Andrew Jackson there. If I turn this over, there is nothing on the back. Whoever had this one, mounted it, and that's what the black spots are. And I assume that because with this corner torn, yet they still have this black mark here in what is the new corner. Yeah, that's actually black tape. Maybe I'll mess with that a little bit, see if I can't get that off of there. But anyway, if you look closely, you can see how it says only to the treasurer of the U.S. or a Federal Reserve Bank. That was the holes that were punched to redeem this particular note. You can see there $10,000, of course. Overall, just an incredible, incredible note. Now, what's the story? The story is 1933, they declared owning gold and gold certificates to be illegal. So you had to turn in all your stuff. Now, if you happen to have a $10,000 gold certificate, you weren't going to risk not being able to ever redeem it again, so you turned it in. Therefore, everybody who had these turned them in. Now, why would somebody have these in the first place? Well, a $20 gold coin was 1 ounce of gold, and this was worth $10,000, meaning this is worth 500 ounces of gold. It's much easier to move this note around than it is 500 ounces of gold. That's why people had these. But once again, with the law being passed that said gold was going to be illegal to own and gold certificates must be redeemed, everybody redeemed them. So by 1934, every single one of these was accounted for. They were all redeemed. Well, what to do with them? They were stored at the post office in Washington, D.C. Now, 1935 rolled around, and that Washington, D.C. post office caught fire. And someone knew that these notes were in there and ran in and started throwing these out of a window to save them from the fire because they understood the historical significance of these notes. So now you have a post office burning, you've got the fire department there trying to put it out, and you have $10,000 bills fluttering out of the window, landing in puddles, some of them being on fire, some of the notes being on fire, then landing in puddles. And once people realized what it was, there was a mad scramble to actually try to recover some of these. And of course, the next day, people would bring these to the bank and they would try to redeem them for $10,000. And well, we know what the bank said. The bank said, no, these aren't valid. You can't redeem it. So that was all the way back in 1933, or 1935, I should say. So no, you can't redeem this today either. It wasn't redeemable then. It's not redeemable now. It's obsolete currency. Doesn't make it any less cool. Now, if you look real close, you can see the burn damage and the smoke damage, the smoke that had come through the holes, the burn damage here. This note was actually on fire. That was part of the flames. And it's just neat because you can actually see the red and blue fibers going through the note right here and here. There's like 2 rows of them, and that was kind of common at the time. Anyway, being able to see the flames, being able to see the damage from that particular fire, pretty amazing. Let's take a peek at the book real quick. Let me slide that out of the way, see what the book has to say. The book is actually how I learned the story. Here we go. There it is. And basically that whole paragraph down there, I'll hold it up like this, and if you want to pause it, you can pause it and read the story there. The important thing to note here is that roughly 400 of these exist. If you look at all the charts there, where it says seal right here, each of the different signature combinations next to that has a number. That's about how many are known, with the exception of the very last one, which is the one that I have, that there are roughly 400 of them. And you can see the prices as well. It says starts at $825 in VG8, quickly goes to $1,500 in a 12, it's $2,100 in a 20, and even Gem Perfect, they're still not even face value. That's according to the book. If you try to get one nowadays, you're going to struggle to find one for under $2,000. I paid a lot less than that for mine, and since then, all the fun with the currency market has exploded, so even finding one under $3,000 can be kind of tough, regardless of condition, because there's only 400 of them. That is the definition of rare. All right, guys, if you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love reading all your comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next week.